Hey, here's a quick example of some titanium code that's dealing with a login controller. So we're creating a login screen. We're adding an event to that login screen to act on a success event. And on the success event being fired, we're creating a home controller and opening that particular view up as well. So the logic of our code is we're creating the controller reference, we are adding the event, and then we're opening the controller. So the user would see a login screen, they type their details in, hit login, it's going to process their login, it's going to close itself and fire a success, and that's going to open up the home screen. Now, this is all well and good, and it's going to work, but we could make this a lot cleaner. And one of the techniques we can use in Alloy is chaining methods together. So we don't need this login prompt here, this login variable here. We can get rid of that straight away. It saves us having to create a pointer to a login variable that we're going to have to destroy later. It's unnecessary. So one of the things we can do here is we can just take this event and we can add it straight on the end, because by creating the controller, it's returning us the controller object. So immediately we can add an on trigger or an on event handler, and we can handle the success event. So we've immediately got rid of that variable completely. And again, the same sort of technique we can do here. So let's go and get rid of this. Let's chain this together. And then the best part here is we can even take that last piece of code and we can get rid of that. So now we've got one line of code effectively that's creating our login controller. It's setting up the event handler. It's opening the login view, and it's responding to the success event. And there's all kinds of cool things we could do here. So let's say, for example, in this case, we have a situation where our login controller is closing itself on success. We're going to get a horrible screen flash because the login controller is going to close, and then the home controller is going to open, the home view is going to open. So one of the techniques we can use here is we can put a callback in here. Put a callback function in, and we can then say if callback, obviously I can check if it's a function and do it all properly, but I'm just doing this really quickly. So if we've got a callback, we're going to call that. So now our login controller, if we assume that we've got some code down here that's in my login controller, that could do, okay, if we could have a function that says do login, and let's assume here that we're checking the fields, we're calling the API, getting a response back, etc., etc. Then down here, what we can do is say, okay, I'm going to trigger the success event, and I'm going to put a function in here, which is going to be my callback handler, and then this is going to be to get this view and close it. So what's happening now is we're creating the login controller, we're adding the event for success, and we're accepting a callback variable. We are creating the home, and we are firing the callback. Now what we could do here as well is we could actually have an event handler on the open so that we can wait until the home controller is actually open before we fire the callback. Or we could use a timeout or whatever else we wanted to use. So we've opened the home controller, we're doing the callback. That code is going to fire back to here. It's going to call the function that we've passed through to success, which is then going to close that view. So we've got a nice circle of activity going on where we're logging in and closing the relevant screens. So it's a really simple technique, but it allows you to create controllers, daisy chain them, and you're not creating variables, you're not leaving pointers open, and you're not potentially creating memory leaks and issues later on.